great pleasure to welcome on our panel Erica Hunt, who will be discussing her work today, along with our residents who are here on the panel. For very briefly, for those who may not know, T-Space or the Stephen Myron Hall Foundation. T-Space is a small gallery and it's an initiative of the Stephen Myron Hall Foundation, which runs every summer different exhibitions and programming that brings together the arts, architecture, sculpture, poetry, music. And Erica, it was a real pleasure to have you just very recently reading for the new opening at T-Space. I will keep it brief. I will thank Nathan, who is a co-host, Nathan Hawks, and pass it on to Benedict, one of our residents, to introduce Erica. Thank you all.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello Erica. I'm Benedict, and I hope you don't get offended if I read it out because my first language is not English. So
No worries.
I researched and thought about what I just saw of you. So Erica Hunt is an American poet, essayist, editor, and educator whose work brings together poetry, critical theory, and political thought. She is the author of several poetry collections, including Local History, Time Slips Right Before Your Eyes, and Jump the Clock, and currently serves as poetry editor for the Brooklyn Rail. She has held teaching position in numerous universities, and is currently teaching a course of poetics and archives of Columbia University in the African American and Africa Diaspora Studies Department. Hunt understands language not simply as a means of communication, but as a social space that shapes relationship and perception. Experimental poetry often combines fragment, multiple voices, and shifting perspectives, inviting readers to actively participate in making meaning. Deeply engaged with questions of race, gender, memory, and social justice, Hunt avoids straightforward political messages. Instead, her work emphasizes openness, listening, and dialogue, exploring how language can create new ways of relating to one another and to the world. So that's the introduction, I would say, more or less. And I think it, like the thoughts that I have while dealing about what you do, Erica, that the let's say the communication within a space that shapes relationships and perception. I think that's really interesting thought as well in the combination of our residency here.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Benedict, for that introduction, and also good morning to everyone. Thank you, Irini, for the invitation. Also, thank you to Nathan for being very helpful in centering me in our conversation this morning. I did have a chance to look briefly at the lecture that was given by Raphael Mostel a few days ago, and I didn't see the whole lecture. I did see a part, and I do have, I hope to have a slightly different style. I want to hear more from you too, as well. So I have this lecture on resonance is a wonderful topic, and I hope to hear from you about what resonates as well. And I have a PowerPoint, and I have a short. I'm going to read a short excerpt of a poem, and then I'm going to ask some questions, and then we're going to look at a 5-minute video and talk about how we see resonance and how does it apply to architecture, to built spaces. Okay, so that's the general layout. Thanks, Nathan. Let's go to the screen, the slide view. I'll be right back. So we can go to the next slide. So being a poet, of course, I started with the dictionary. I wanted to see what are the etymological origins, what are of the word resonance. And of course, I went to the OED. We all know what that is, the Oxford English Dictionary. And it has, of course, a list of an inventory of definitions. And I'm just going to pay attention to a couple of them. The first, the reinforcement or prolongation of sound. So it's first about sound, the reflection of sound, vibration. But I also want to go to the third definition, corresponding or sympathetic response, an instance of this. In later use, also the power or quality of evoking or suggesting images, memories, and emotions. An illusion, a connotation, an overtone. So resonance is first a sonic, a physical, a property of physics and waves, as Raphael Mostel said in his talk, and that's important. But there's also a connotation of resonance in imagery, memory, and emotion. And poets and writers work not only with the words, the material, concrete fact of language, or the sound of language, but also some emotion. The emotion is an important component of experience and of knowledge, of knowing. We know things not just through the sort of concrete, but also through some things that are intangible, right? That are effective. And then the final definition I want to bring, or etymology, that I want to bring your attention to is the use of resonance in art. That last definition, richness of color, produced by proximity to a contrasting color or colors. Next. Starting points. This starting points, I want to go back, Nathan. I'm not quite ready. Starting points, to me, it's important to talk about where do you begin when you try to make something? We are all makers. As a poet, in fact, the word poet, poesis, means to make. So we are all, anybody who makes something, be it a crochet dolly or a large building, right, is making something. Be it a person who is composing a symphony, to someone who is sculpting or deciding to make a sculpture out of a piece of wood. So now we're ready for the next slide. This is a sculpture by the sculptor Thaddeus Mosley, an African-American man, native of Pittsburgh, who recently died. And this is at the Pittsburgh Art Museum. And I thought, this is so wonderful, an example of making something out of the most unlikely materials, right? Not fancy materials, not the ennobled materials of stone, right? Or marble, but out of pieces of wood that he altered. And sometimes the alteration is the placement of the materials. So that was sort of a point I want to make, that sometimes proximity, arrangement, assemblage matters in the making. Next, startle points. Where do you begin? Where to begin? Where does one find resonance? Sources and resources for the practice of making. So here I want to throw this open, and I want everybody to use their voice, introduce themselves, what they are in the practice of making, and how do you begin? So one by one, please. How do you begin? Where do you begin? Where do you begin? Benedict, I'm going to call on you because you.
That's fine. I would like the way we are in that process now since 3 days, since Monday, and already spoke about that as well. But like one of the first things I noted in our Miro book is really about memory as well, like and in that special sense resonance, but also related to sound. And actually, for me, it was a way of physical absence of human in the real image, but really by listening to a sound like a background noise actually. And out of that, my process started to think about it.
Are you primarily an architect, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Next person, Simon. I'm just going to go in order of my screen.
Yes. So I have been digging into this novel called Big Girl on the Train, and it reflects a certain aspects of resonance through uh, being exposed repeatedly to a strange character or a figure or an instance that you build somehow a personal connection to it, and you kind of project your own desires and aspects to this stranger, even though they don't know you at all, but you have something significant in your
Yes,
heart that
yes,
reflects your own personality to them.
yes, yes,
So
yeah.
I think that's really interesting to me.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's
Mhm.
good. Yes, next person. That would be for me, Jackie.
Hello. So I'm a visual artist. I'm interested in built environment, which is why I'm here today. But this is like one of my favorite questions because material and medium is the way that things are mediated for me. And so I have to know what it is that I believe about the medium. So this often starts with a process of deconstruction. Deconstructing the ideas that what I know to be true and taking that apart. If I was working with an object, I would be physically taking that object apart to understand how it functions, the knowing of something, and then through that deconstruction, I can kind of put something together.
Yes, very helpful. Okay. How about you, Rihanna?
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm an architecture student. So for the beginning of this process, I always start with words, trying to understand what does it mean for me, because I can never start with images or even something physical. For me, it always starts with a word. It has a very strong power for me. And the words that were strong for the beginning of this were repetition, progression, and choreographing the sound. Yeah, that's basically my starting point.
Okay. And choreographing the sound. That's beautiful. Okay. Where are we? Roy.
Hi, I'm a student in architecture and furniture, so similar to Jackie, I think I tend to relate to materials first and their quality. For this, I guess, residency, my intuition was to find some kind of relation with wood and resonance.
Yes. Okay. This is great. And Hope. Hi. Are you on twice, Hope?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I mean,
Okay. Go ahead.
resonance is about memories, architectural space that can create memories for a person that recalls memory from long ago.
How are by the way, a couple of people have mentioned memories. Memory can be a lot of different things, right? So is it primarily emotional or is it embodied? Is it in your body? Where's the memory? Where's the memory for you, Hope?
It's just some distant memories, like a piece of material that makes you think of something
So it's
from
associative.
someone long ago.
Mm-hmm. It's associative. So it is a kind of a kind of psycho emotional memory.
Okay.
Have I spoken to everybody here?
There is one more on our webinars chat. Erika, you may be able to access the chat as well, but I can read it out for you.
Okay.
It's coming from Maria Fernanda. She's saying, I begin with an etymology chart and place sayings I love where a family of words would normally be and consider their connections.
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's good. Thank you. So where does one find resonance? Where is that quality we were speaking about earlier about proximity, a kind of amplification of what is the initial sound or the initial motive, the initiating moment? What gets us started? Next, Nathan. So I wanted to make a distinction between denotation and connotation, where denotation is very specific. It's almost the arrow that points at a specific material or concept or language. It is the referential. It is a very exclusive kind of reference, term employed to denote or describe a thing. It's a designation. I mean this one, not that one. That's denotation, right? It is an arrow that points, the word points to a specific object, to a specific material. Next, connotation, the signifying, in addition, inclusion of something, the meaning of a word, besides what it primarily denotes, the implication. It's a wider lens. If we were looking through a telescope, we would be widening the lens and we'd see the context. And we'd also notice what else happened to be in the background in the usage of a particular word. Poets love connotation. And in fact, I would say that much of contemporary art proceeds not only by denoting specific things, but also through connotation, through placing things in context and in relation, and thereby amplifying what would be very simple or, very pointed and reduced. Next. I'm going to read a poem. This is an excerpt of a poem, old poem of mine. And why I wanted to read it is because I wanted to show something about beginner's mind. That is having a starting point, which is actually at the beginning, which is not everything I know about a city. I've born and raised in New York City. I've lived other places, but I've lived longest in New York City. But suppose I didn't live in New York City. Suppose I undid what I knew so that I could have a fresh mind and a fresh approach to New York City. So that was kind of the pretext, the way that I wanted to begin this poem many years ago. One lives inside the replica of a city materializing from the sum of its inhabitants' aspirations, fluctuating on a dial of pluses and minuses. The replica city commands a momentum separate from the city for which one has bought a ticket. The real city swallows the evidence of your arrival, while the other, where exemplary forgeries abound, it is difficult to read the intention that launched you here, as the words themselves, now realized, dry in their new positions. So in other words, I suddenly saw New York as others see it, as people arriving here see it, not as someone who's a native, but actually as some kind of fiction, an illusion of a city. New York City, the fantasy, as opposed to New York City, the place that I live. In both cities, members of shifting teams have unspoken tasks, tending the myths around the landmarks, starting the fires, burdening the wires for the headlines back home. The exits in public spaces are frequently blocked by crowds at pains to avoid the question of how many can reasonably fit. One travels at a velocity necessary to see both cities. For half of what is seen, one could have dreamt up oneself. And for that latter special half, one is anxious to transmit as fearlessly as possible in hieroglyphs. How good it seems to be here. I wish you were here. I remain, etc. It's just an excerpt. But sometimes where to begin is literally beginner's mind, even with your own, all that you know. You know a lot about made spaces, about making things, but sometimes to begin again is also beginning. Yeah. And this is how we start to not repeat ourselves as much as to elaborate on what we know in a different way with a fresh perspective, using beginner's mind as part of our practice of making. Next. I want to point out there is a book that just came out this year. Are people familiar with this book? Is this connected to the theme? The Architecture of Resonance by Sarah Robinson. She is part of, as I understand, and I was only able to take a very quick glance at this book. I highly recommend it. I mean, I purchased one for myself. I was able to read one online, read a bit online. She is part of a movement of architects who are thinking about how does a body move through material space. And she's also the president of the Frank Lloyd Wright Society. So, I mean, she's obviously a big noise. Irene, are you familiar with her, this work?
No, and thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to extract from a few things. This list is drawn from her table of contents. Okay. And she has chapters on affective resonance, sonic resonance, haptic. Do people know what haptic means? I need a volunteer. What's haptic mean? Anybody know? Haptic means touch.
Your touch.
Your touch. So your touch screen on your phone, that's haptic. Haptic. So how is resonance achieved? Through touch. Kinesthetic resonance. How do we move through spaces? So all of this is architecture of resonance. She's talking about spaces that create emotional, sonic, haptic resonances in the body. Kinesthetic, how does the body move through space? Visual resonance. And in this case, she's talking about rhythm. Visual how do art made spaces imply a rhythm, a pattern? Cognitive resonance, social resonance, that is the social space that's inhabited by the body in space, right? Harbors of resonance, how do buildings provide or achieve harbors of resonance? And then this last chapter that I find very interesting, and I read a bit in, from containers to fields, from objects to interactions. All right, so I leave it to you to explore that. It's not quite what I want to do here. I want to sort of just take on next. I just want to take on 3 because it's a big topic. She's written a whole book about it. Lots of chapters, lots of examples, many of them aligned and keyed to architectural spaces. I want to talk about not only starting points where you begin. I want to talk about startle points, where you are surprised, where you surprise yourself, where the settled knowledge, and respectfully, it's wonderful to have mastery, expertise, experience. There is a thing about being a specialist. We don't let people, who are not surgeons operate on us. We like to have expertise. It's important, right? Poets, architects, artists, they have expertise. Startle points. Where do we get surprised? That's why beginner's mind is important. So that's why it's also important to me as a practitioner to allow myself to be a beginner at times so that I can have refreshed and renewed perspective, and also so I can come across and be surprised. So that means, maybe I'm a little bit amateur, maybe I'm just a novice. But as an artist, regardless of the discipline, I pay attention. We want to pay attention in a particular way. Tune it up. What do you feel? What do I hear? What am I seeing? Attention. That's part of the practice. That's always going to be part of your practice. What do I feel? And it's very hard. I remember years ago, I had to sit down. I wasn't so good. I was very cerebral. I still am, but I had to sit down and say, what are my feelings right now? And I made myself make a list of feelings so I could be very precise. I wasn't precise enough. I'm restless. I'm hungry. I'm slightly in pain. I'm yearning. Just make a list of feelings. Shades, the gradations. What's the sound? What am I hearing? Is it loud? Is it sharp? Is it clamorous? Is it noisy? Is it putting me to sleep? Is it silly? Is it syrupy? What am I hearing? What do I hear? Is it at the high end? Is it the low end? I have another list someone made that I recently wrote down. See, I get things from all other disciplines, and they help to feed me as a poet. So this composer who composes with all kinds of noises and collages has a list of sounds that she's interested in: brightness, sharpness, harmonic, timbre, texture, color. This is in sound. What is the color of that sound? Temporality. Is it short? Is it long? Does it repeat? The ratio of the harmonic to the non-harmonic. Synchronicity. Is it a stable sound? Is this stable or is it instable? Is it in motion or is it static? Sound. Is it opaque? Is it erased? Practice is attentive learning, extra attention. Put yourself in the position of an amateur, sometimes of an amateur, and be in that place of phenomenological attention. What's happening to my body? What's happening to my feelings? Visual. This goes for the visual as also. Whether it's what kinds of visuality what's the scale? What's the color? What's the size? Is it touchable? Is it not touchable? Is it textured? Is it not? Is it smooth? Is it slippery? Is it superficial? Am I looking at the surface or am I looking deep in? All right. All of those things are resonances that can be used in your practice as you make physical objects and physical space. I believe. They are useful to me. I love to write in a museum. I love to write at the movies in the dark, the best place. It's dream space. Here I want to show a film in which a poem of mine was used. And I want to talk about, after we watch the film, I want us to talk about startle points, if we see any, okay? See now, here we go. I'm gonna share. I'm gonna do the entire screen. Doop, share. It's 5 minutes, not long. Okay. See my screen? Please say yes or no.
Not yet.
Not yet.
How about now?
No.
No,
No.
not yet.
Okay. Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to Okay, let's do it again. we got it once, so we know it happens. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. Vimeo. See it? Nope. Yes.
No, maybe just the browser.
Just the browser.
If you're able to share just that tab.
Oh, so go to the browser. Just that tab. I am in the tab. I'll do it one more time. It's because, again, my Zoom is on a browser right now. So that maybe let's do the window. Let's try that. Do that. Do that. Okay. Well, you're sharing. You're screen sharing. Now I am. Okay. Now let's go to the. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Now I am going to I'm going to say goodbye to you, Nathan, who are on my screen. And I'm going to try to go to widescreen here. There we go. Here we go. Everybody see a big screen?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Now our next challenge will be, I'm going to hide this. Our next challenge will be sound. Let's hopefully that works. It's called Outcrop the Grave. You hear? Please let me know if you hear.
I cannot hear. I don't know.
You do not hear?
I thought I heard something, but now no.
No.
Hear? Okay, the soundtrack is important. So I'm going to start again. And I'm going to see if I can get the sound. We did it before, so, all right?
Yeah, it worked before, but maybe whenever you click to share your screen, if there's a little slider that comes up that says to share audio.
Okay, disable annotation. Your screen sharing. Okay. And then a little multiple.
It might be best to just stop it and reshare it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Entire screen to share audio, share a tab instead. Got it. Okay. Got it. Share. Okay. Now back here. How's it going?
Perfect. We see it.
Okay. Now let's try it again. Hear it?
And we hear it. Sounds great.
Great.
I'm too flow. nothing fall for my journey now. Lord, I've got to make it. I've got to make it to heaven somehow. I'm too close to finally reaching my goal. I'm too close. Oh, Lord, to finally saving my soul. You know that I'm oh, Lord, to hell. I'm too close. Oh, no. I just can't turn around.
Eyesight searches the dust. What love sees in daily light holds open color. Ink, roar, melody, and quiet to better endure bumps. Always more song to be sung between the words. Jars memory and its subatomic, moving at the speed of thought. To fish for breath. Combing through hair as tangled as nets. A fine line between mind and senses spinning, in which her body becomes expert. Loving the body of one's choice, and to live so surrounded, with fewer asterisks and more verbs, and fewer security alerts. Their eloquence before and above the grave.
Okay, let's go back. Zoom. So I have a few questions for you. What startles? Anything?
The first thing that I was really startled by was actually the credit and seeing the photographs written as orphan photos.
Yeah.
Because there was such an intimacy that was being built with the images, and because they are printed photographs, it felt like a collection of images that belonged to someone. And something that I noticed through the pictures, the faces always seem to be mediated either by shadow or kissing or hair.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Explain what an orphan photo is.
The way that I interpret it is that maybe these are photographs that have been collected and they're not a single family. So it could be these pictures could have been found at like an antique shop or thrift shops. They're no longer with the family in which they came from. Yeah.
That's right. They've been discarded.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one photo there that actually is in the collection of the person who took the photo. So in some ways, they are found photos, aren't they? It's found material. So let's continue from there. What else might be startling or a beginning point? You found a bunch of stuff. You collect some materials. It's not attached to you even, but somehow you do see something. Let's talk about that. What's a starting point, a beginning? Someone else. How about you, Simon? I call on people. Oops.
Something that startles me is the moment where the music switched from a very homesick one to a kind of romantic one, and suddenly you perceive the picture differently. The first, I guess, quarter of the video is kind of about the sense of familiarity. Thank you, Maria. That kind of reflects on the childhood or your family, your recollection of that, and then suddenly it's about your adolescent memories, like how you fall in love, how you see, other people as potential mates or partners, something like that. That's kind of how I perceive it. Yeah.
Sure. There's a contrast.
Right. I
right?
think so.
There's a big contrast. The first piece of music is a blues tune, and it is kind of nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
It's also operatic in my mind. There's something about the scale of it. It's too red, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
right? It's monumental. And then the second tune has a more delicate, sentimental, lighter touch. It's lyrical, big contrast to the big emotion. Let's talk about emotion, because I did want to talk about those three things: the affective, the sonic, and the visual. And so far, we've spoken about the visuals, and we could probably say more there. And Simon, you just gave us the sonic material, the sonic contrast, some observations there. Let's talk about the emotional. What is emotionally going on?
May I?
Yeah.
I would even say, perhaps it's a mixture of affective and visual, what I would like to say. So for me, the narrative of, let's say, also that what Jackie said, it's something that I had unaware. I didn't think about it until she said it when you had the end of the video, that it was written at Orphan Images. But for me, there was a narrative in it until a certain moment, perhaps also something that, I don't know, we all get socialized for a certain path, how whatever family, society surrounding is like. And for me, that shifted as well, not only in the music, but also from the storytelling visually, but also effectively what you think, how it could proceed like.
Yes. So there is a kind of narrative, but it's very traced. It's very faint, isn't it? It's not like this is the beginning, middle, end, but there's some, through the association, through the proximity, through the placement of these images, there's a certain kind of narrative there that is familiar to us because we're socializing, right? Is that what you're saying, Benedict?
Yes.
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 Mhm. So you don't have to, sometimes you don't have to like go 1, 2, 3, you know, connect the dots completely in the sequential way. Sometimes by clustering, you have a narrative, a continuity, a coherence. Yeah.
And also leaving questions open in the end. That's interesting to, I think, any kind of discipline to try to, okay, what am I used to? What do I request? How does this, what I see, affect me?
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk also, I want to talk a little bit about the hidden faces and what does that suggest? I'm going to call on somebody. Uh-oh. Hope, what do you think about those hidden faces?
I feel like it means it can apply to anyone. It doesn't have to be a specific person to have similar memories.
Mm-hmm. 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 Good. Mm-hmm. What else? Did anybody notice anything else about the hidden faces? How about the hand that turns the photos over?
Yeah, I thought the hand was very interesting at first because I was thinking why weren't the photos just shown almost in like a slideshow format? But then the hand immediately drew me back to my own memory of when my grandparents were moving out of their house and we were going over their photographs and specifically treating the photos as like an object and not just like a two-dimensional image was, I think, a very strong way to connect my memories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. The hand humanizes in a funny way, right? And as Jackie says, it supplies an intimacy that might be missing if it were a slideshow. It gives it the person's there. Rihanna, talk to me a little bit, if you can, about what do you think about the words all of a sudden out of this music? What happens for you?
The words of the beginning and then how they just changed to the
Poem. At the poem. There's a poem. There's my poem. At the end.
I think that these words are like a resume, not a resume, but a conclusion of this sequence of images and thoughts that were being shown through the video.
Mm-hmm. It's a kind of caps.
Like an evocation of something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there are two textures. There's three textures, right? There's the big, anthemic blues. There's the operatic blues. There's that light lyrical, that sort of romantic piece in the middle. And then words. Outfoxing the grave. Outfox the grave. Outfox the grave. To somehow not, to have the fullest life, right? Not quite dead. Fullness. Mm-hmm. Okay. One last piece. There's another thing. So what happens as a viewer, right? It's only 5 minutes long. Is this amplitude? Would any of these things, what would happen if they were just by any piece of it by itself? What happens? And then what's different when they come together? Anybody? Has everybody spoken? We're going to start over again. Jackie.
Well, I also just keep thinking about the geode right at the beginning.
Yes.
The rotating rock.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Right. Sorry. Or not forgot, but
No, but I think that, I mean, I am over here like Googling, like, what is this rock formation? And like, what is the symbolism of it? And I'm just going to quickly read just one line. They look ordinary from the outside, often resembling a plain node or rounded stone, but inside they contain mineral formations that grew slowly in isolation. And I thought that that isolation kind of resonated with this found material, this orphaned image. And the function of the video is kind of putting these materials together. So in their isolation, there is a community, there is a jointness. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, but we can kind of unpack it.
No,
Yeah.
no, I think that's great because I think there's both the intention of the maker, right?
Mhm.
The maker, by the way, is I have a daughter who's a filmmaker, and I was so pleased when she made this short, right? From a poem. So it's the intention of the maker, whatever that is. By the way, I don't know what her total intention was, but there's also what we make as receivers of that information, right? And we have an embodied, effective, cognitive experience. It's legitimate too. So this discussion, lends and enriches the made object. All right. And that's, I think, an important part of practice to recognize. You can put some things together that resonate for you and then see what is the impact it has on others. And it doesn't always have to be in the same register. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. It is interesting. It opens us up. It opens up our experience. It helps us pay attention differently and deeper when they aren't in the same register, right? When you startle people, when you surprise people. Oh, I didn't expect to see that here. I didn't expect to go through a section of a building where there's that cutout or there's that sound, that I hear the wind in a particular way. I didn't expect to hear water here. I didn't expect, what does it do to open up our pathways of cognition and feeling and connection with others to resonate with in a different way than what has been anticipated conventionally. So as makers, we're thinking about this. We're thinking about how to activate people's experiences, activate them, activate the ways that they know, activate the way that they hear, activate the way that they listen to language, see an image, make people curious again. What does Kafka say? The purpose of art is to take an ice pick to the iceberg inside of us, that which is frozen inside of us because we think we know it. But actually, we don't really know it. We only know what we are socialized to know, what we are supposed to expect, right? What we expect to see there. And how do we startle people, activate them into knowing and feeling differently, more openly. Next slide, Nathan. And I'm summing up now because I think I'm done. This is the summary. We're here. Beginner's mind. These are key words for me. Practice. We talk about how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. How do you make something really through that is helpful, is useful, is catalytic in the present, but also can endure? Practice, doing, rehearsal. That's another big word for me. It's not here. Rehearsal. Everything is there is a way that practice is also a rehearsal for the made thing, the thing that you're going to make and are constantly making through your life, your practice, your life's practice. Startle, the idea of surprising yourself, surprising others. Resonance is essential to composition. Just repeating it in one register is fine, And sometimes there's a value in minimalism. Doesn't have to be long and elaborate, doesn't have to be a cathedral, doesn't have to be, you know, a long epic poem. But somehow it also has to be resonant in the body. And as you saw from this discussion of resonance, there are many ways to do that, to activate an embodied resonance. Haptically, kinesthetically, sonically, visually, etc., right? Resonance, activating multiple parts of experience and of knowing. And then finally, the value of discovery, curiosity, amplitude. It is the thing, we're amplifying those things. And this is the thing that actually, you know, I say, well, why do we do art? Why bother being a poet? I mean, for heaven's sakes, you know, because it is that capacity, our human capacity and desire for discovery, to figure out something new, to inquire, to be curious about the world in which we are born, and to change it somehow, to leave our mark on it, hopefully leave it better than how we found it, to leave it better than how we found it. That's my slideshow, Nathan. We can go to the, so I'm taking questions. Comments, thoughts, elaborations. And so
for you, a resonance could be considered as a provocation, maybe?
Yes, yes. Oh, in fact, yes, very often. Very often. You want to, provocation is to ask people, to invite people to respond. For me, art is dialogic. I'm talking to someone or talking to a text or to a body of practice. Often I am responding to a certain kind of language. I think all language has, we might receive it passively, but it in fact needs to be provoked. Poke it a little bit and see what's really underneath that language. What's really underneath this thing? And to ask, also, there's the way that provocation invites the reader, the person experiencing the space or the art object, to come in. Don't be passive. This is not wallpaper. I want to engage you. Thanks for asking that question. Others, thoughts? I mean, I'm curious. I mean, in some ways, architecture has this interesting position it must occupy. It must work, right? It's got to function, but it also has to engage. Sometimes people aren't just passing through. That's that's what I found so interesting about the Robinson, when she says, from containers to fields. What does that mean to you? Made space can be a container, just, and then a field. What is that?
I don't know exactly what that is, but my thinking is like when you were kind of talking about assemblage or organizing, how do you allow one to take a path?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I once had to give a talk to another architecture group. It was at Columbia. who is it? I'll remember the name who invited me, but I talked about the Oculus, right? And that space, if you know it, which is like a huge transit hub, and it really just channels people in different directions. It doesn't ask you to pause, you know? But that space could be so much more than just a transit point or a container channeling people to different transportation hub, parts of the hub. What does it mean to decide that it's a field of possible interactions? Simon, what do you think about this? What do you think about this whole idea of the container field?
My thoughts about the field is that you have so many meaningful or resonance-worthy interactions happening along your way to some destination that you'll always be distracted. So at the end, you kind of lost your purpose in the space. You forgot why you're here at all.
Yeah, because
That's
it
kind
is
of
a mall too,
yeah.
right? Oculus
Yeah.
is a mall. Yeah.
It is. Also, the space kind of make the atmosphere when you went into it kind of holy. Like you stand at the lobby space and see like that really high ceiling, almost
Yeah.
like a Gothic space.
Yeah.
It makes you pause in a way, Well, as
Yeah.
an architecture student, I paused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How does resonance operate in a space like that? And that tension again between purpose has got to function, and something that changes, activates the person walking through. How do you navigate that? How do you negotiate that? Purposeful structure, activation of the person, somehow the possibility of activating them in a different way, shifting them. It's the problem of every poem. The poem's got to navigate the space between familiarity and startle.
This is more of a question, but do you ever feel that like architecture like imbues this ideology of like how people are supposed to be?
Oh yeah. There's so much
Yeah.
connotation of power, Oculus to me is mostly about power.
Like
I'm small and this is so big, and not a lot about what would it mean to make a different kind of connection, different kinds of gathering that isn't tied to retail. So, retail buying something. So it has to be it's purpose built. It needs to work on some level, but it also what does it mean? What if there were places of reflection, places of touch, places that recognized movement, places that of feeling? And can the strictly functional accommodate all of these aspects of the person as who we are as human beings? Mm-hmm. So I leave that to you, but I ask those questions. I have no answers, just questions. Marie is going. Oh yeah, Mabel. Yes, she's amazing. I worked with Mabel at Columbia. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm quoting from Marie's chat. I wonder if viewing distance plays a role instead of how far one is from an art piece. Instead, what comes to life as you move through an interior? What comes to life as you move through an interior. Yeah. So a word about Mabel Wilson's made spaces, and most famously the University of Virginia, which literally, as you move through the spaces that she has created, and including the landscape space, changes, and it changes you. You are changed, and it is functional. You can sit on it too, right? That's a picture. Someone should throw that up on a screen for you to look at later. Any other thoughts or questions here? I'll take them.
I think what's pretty often as well an indicator to deal with space, I would say, and also this I don't know to say it in English. I have to think about it. Permanence, so that the built environment is permanent, and I think a good indicator to also resonate with it is our human scale. I often get detached by scale as well, but at the same time you can provoke, although it is something is a huge scale, by getting closer to something big from the human scale, from the human perspective. That's often a thought that helps to think in a bigger structure as well.
Yes.
Through my experience.
Hasn't it always, thank you for that. Hasn't it always, I have a question, hasn't it always been customary in architecture to have different scales within the same structure? Right? Customary, traditional. Even in old cathedrals, there's always some quiet prayer space, or there's a, even in a something that's kind of large and monumental, right? That's, it's supposed to make you think of God or the king or something. There's always a space there are always these spaces that are somewhat more private and have a different scale, different register. Is that true? I'm asking this not just only of you, Benedict, but of everybody. Isn't that true, that there's big and there's little, there's spaces of gathering, there's spaces of prayer, there's spaces of confession, very private space, right? Spaces of so there it's not, instead of thinking of it as one container, maybe it's a container with lots of different fields.
Yes, and I think you have that always. You even have that in the most human denying image and building like Burj Khalifa, I don't know what, to I think even there you have a handle. You always can relate to your humanness. But I think it's about the connotation. Where is the human scale in the whole? I think that's pretty much the question to but anyway, also that's the permanency in everywhere beingness of the discipline is also a problem, and also a conceptual problem that by history can develop. And so any like big thoughts turned out to be bad in the built environment as well.
So I'm thinking that I was in the Gaudi. Recently this fall I was in the Gaudi Cathedral, and it's amazing, amazing place. But the other thing, and I'm thinking differently about it, because I tend to go to these places and I think, oh, it's so big, it's so I identify with the whole structure, but yet I notice all these details, and the details are quite intimate, right? I notice that the where the choir stands, there are where they stand in these balconies, and they're railed, in these balconies, horizontal rails, and the balconies have little musical notes on them. So it's like a stave, you understand what I'm saying? It's like little musical notes, as if they were the lines of a score. And that's where the choir stands. And that's kind of, simple. But it's also a very strange little touch in what's otherwise these huge, I don't know, 100-foot ceilings and big glass and big this and big that. There are also those in. So maybe it's not so much thinking about the structure overall, the superstructure, but also thinking about the moments inside the big superstructure.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
It's
Which
a good
draw
example.
you in close, which draw you in closer. And then it's for the choir. Really, they're the ones who can see it closest. You're just kind of looking up at it, but you realize that that's a moment, that's a part of the big force field inside of the superstructure, right? That's its own little energy spot. Okay, so what again, I'm a beginner's mind. I don't know anything much, really. You guys are specialists in made spaces. But I'm talking about paying attention, even across a discipline, your powers of attention. You have powers of attention. And I have a power of attention too, which is that I notice this and that makes me curious. So how do we use our powers of attention in disciplines that are maybe not our own to pay attention to something we can bring back into our own discipline? You understand? So maybe you're listening to music and you go, oh, I get it. Theme, elaboration, improvisation, then back to the theme. And you notice that, and that becomes something that you can incorporate into your own practice. And that would be an example of resonance. Right? That's resonance. What I noticed at the Gaudi was, oh, that's how you work a little detail of something and you customize it and you direct the attention of the body. And it has a feeling too, because he did that for the musicians. And it directs our attention, it directs the way we notice inside the larger structure, superstructure of the cathedral, Gaudi Cathedral, which they've been building it once again for 100 years. It's another one of those, multi-generational projects. Any other thoughts, comments here? Well, with that, I thank you all for your attention today. It's been a pleasure to
Thank you so much.
Spend time with you.
Thank you.
Likewise, Erica.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been really great.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, everyone. Have a very good rest of your residency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.